What is up, everybody? Matt Gajeski here, back again with the Stochastic Fantasy Football channel. And today we're talking some best ball. We'll be doing some upside wide receivers, league winners, if you will. We've done the same thing with quarterbacks and running backs, and we will continue the trend here. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. We are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy today. All throughout this video, we will be referencing their average draft position and talking about their contest. But before we get started, they have a phenomenal offer for you guys. A first match deposit bonus up to $100 when you use the promo code Stochastic, or they make it really easy. You can just click the link in the video description below. In most places, you must be 18 plus, but when you do this, you are getting $100 free. That is 4 entries into Best Ball Mania 4, or you could spread that around to some other contests. They have a ton of stuff going on, multiple best ball tournaments going on, and they continue to innovate in that capacity. They have pick'em contests for people in non-betting states. That means you're making lineups of player props where you can win up to 20 extra entry fee. And they have DFS contests similar to large field GPPs with daily drafts. So there's a lot of ways you can take advantage of that free $100. And don't wait. The winner for Best Ball Mania could be drafted at any time. So make sure to get in there and check it out. If you're concerned with your play, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Getting into the video, we're talking wide receivers today, upside wide receivers, league-winning wide receivers. So for the purpose of this conversation, trying to get wide receivers outside the top 25 at the position that is. So we'll kick things off here with Christian Kirk. Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver ADP of 48.3. He is currently wide receiver 27 on the board. And Kirk, he was kind of the crown jewel of this free agency class last year for Jacksonville. A lot of people thought he was overpaid. I think he paid that off. When you look at his stats, 84 catches, over 1,100 yards, 8 scores for Jacksonville in sort of that rebuild they had under Trevor Lawrence. That was all solid for Kirk. The reason he's fallen down boards a little bit this year has to do with the increased target competition. You now have Calvin Ridley returning from suspension. Zay Jones is still there. Evan Ingram's still there. But I want to fall back on Kirk's efficiency. This is a guy that had 1.75 yards per route run, well above average. Ridley's been solid too when he's played. His yards per route run's been above 2 a couple times, which is kind of the elite category. But Ridley now hasn't played in the better part of 2 years. He was suspended all last year. He only played 5 games in 2021. He's turning 29 this season. We've seen something similar from Michael Thomas. What's to say he's immediately the number one on this team? And then there's the case, okay, maybe if he is, because Ridley has been very good, why is it Christian Kirk the one that ends up seeing his targets cut? Why could that not be Zay Jones? When we look at the Zay Jones profile, he's a guy that averaged under 1.5 yards per route run. He's never been a productive player throughout his career until last year when he emerged kind of by necessity with this Jacksonville passing game. I think there's a decent chance that all these guys are good, but instead of Christian Kirk getting sniped for targets, it's Zay Jones. All this to say you have a lot of room for upside with Christian Kirk. He could simply be the wide receiver one. You could just see Ridley take targets from Zay Jones, and you could also just see this offense ascend again. They retained most of their coaching staff. Last year, they were 17th in plays per game. They passed the 12th most out of any team. Trevor Lawrence continues to get better. This team has a 9.5 win total, which is something crazy to see from Jacksonville. It's an ascending offense and one we're going to continue to try to get pieces of. When we look at our rankings here, we have Christian Kirk as wide receiver 22, well above ADP. And if you want to get access to these rankings, which you should, they're constantly updating, and we have them for all the major platforms, DraftKings, Drafters, Underdog, you name it, along with content, written articles. You're watching the video, so you know about these. But you can get all that by clicking the link in the video description for just $39.95. Also has fantasy football as well. It's a steal. You're not going to find anything that cheap across the industry that is constantly updating, going through all of these statistics and all the stats for the upcoming season. Let's get to our next receiver. Tyler Lockett, Seattle Seahawks, coming off the board, 63.9 ADP of 33. Similar to Christian Kirk, the concerns with Lockett mainly come from increased target competition. You bring in Jackson Smith-Njigba to a room that already has Lockett himself and DK Metcalf. But there's also some age concerns with Lockett. He's turning 31 in the year. We look back on the most recent season. He went over 1,000 yards still, caught 84 balls. He had a target share of 23%. His air yard share was 31%. For reference, Metcalf was about at 25.5% target share, 37% air yard share. But I went back and I ran the route, or I found the yards per route run for both of these receivers because a common narrative is that Tyler Lockett has fallen off. DK Metcalf was at 1.93. Tyler Lockett was at 1.89. I mean, maybe we see a little bit more aggression year over year for Lockett. He is getting older, and Metcalf continues to ascend. But 1.89 yards per route run is very good. The notion that Tyler Lockett has fallen off is overblown. Even if we do see a little bit of regression here, we're still looking at a highly productive receiver. And it's not like some of the other receivers in this offense don't come with concerns. We don't really have a strong tight end option, although Seattle likes to force two of them onto the field. We'll see if Fant can kind of get back to what we thought he would be coming out of college. But Jackson Smith-Njigba comes in. He hasn't played football in over a year. We only saw a cameo appearance from him at Ohio State this last year. He's a slot-only receiver entering a new system after taking essentially a year off. We'll see how that goes for Seattle here. But even if Jackson Smith-Njigba does come in and has a seamless transition to the NFL, this is an offense I do want pieces of. Most of their offensive staff is back. This is a team that was actually faster than expected, and they were 13th in pass rate, over expected. Geno Smith, best season of his career, completed nearly 70% of his passes, 7.5 yards per attempt. His touchdown rate was a little high, but this is an offense we expect to be explosive again. Vegas seems to think they're going to be good. They have an 8.5 win total. This could be a rising tide lifts all boats situation where Jackson Smith-Njigba helps the offense, and Lockett's still a full-time player here, making him a value at his ADP. We currently have him as wide receiver 28 in the rankings. You can get him at wide receiver 33 on Underdog Fantasy. Last one here, one I'm actually really excited to talk about is Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Kadarius Tony. Now, this is a league winner by definition if I've ever seen one. You have Travis Kelce in Kansas City, and then you have the potential wide receiver 1 coming off the board with an ADP of 72.9 as wide receiver 38. Now, the reason he's this low is you have a ton of uncertainty with Kadarius Tony. He comes over midseason via trade, and he doesn't play a lot. Now, part of that is because he was battling injury. Part of that is because it's hard to pick up a playbook with a couple weeks' notice. And we did see gadget plays for Tony, particularly in the red zone. He had a really high usage rate there. But this is a guy that has been dynamic when he's touching the ball. You look at his yards per route run, it's at 2.14 for his career. Last year, he was at 2.15. Talking about small samples, but over a 2-year sample now, it's getting larger and larger, and his explosion has continued to be there. He's a guy they'll use in the run game. And what I fall back on more than anything else is the lack of target competition. You do have Travis Kelce. He's not going anywhere. Getting a little bit older, but I mean, he's a first-round draft pick in fantasy. Nobody's expecting him to fall off. But aside from Tony, you have Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Sky Moore, Richie James, Justin Watson, rookie Rashee Rice. These aren't exactly the most formidable names in terms of target competition. And there's a real possibility here that Tony sees over 100 targets. And if he is the true wide receiver 1, that could be crazy with Patrick Mahomes, who has a passing prop of 4,800.5 yards right now. If he plays 17 games, he's going over that. If Kadarius Tony is the wide receiver 1, he is going to vastly outproduce this. Now, does come with concerns, injuries. Tony's been a little bit of a head case. So, I mean, we're talking about a former first-round pick that got traded in the middle of his rookie contract. So the concerns are there, but the upside is also there, which is why I'm willing to draft him aggressively as the wide receiver 38. When I look at our rankings, he is actually the wide receiver 38 there. We still have him above ADP. This is kind of just waiting on him to solidify his role with some positive camp reports, hopefully coming this summer. He's going to rise our rankings throughout the summer. But that'll do it for us today. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. Also, tell me who your favorite upside wide receiver is, your league winner. I would love to hear it. Hit the thumbs up button on the way out, subscribe, and watch out for more videos. They'll be coming soon and all throughout the summer. Until then, good luck, everybody. We'll see you again soon.